Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 tournament action. Yes, indeed, this is Game 3 of the series between Tlaxtlan Soothsayer and VikingCat. This is indeed the finals of the Total War Fantasy League Qualifier number 1. So this was the first qualifier tournament that they held, and this is Game 3 of the finals, best of 5 here. Tlaxtlan Soothsayer is currently up 2-0, so if VikingCat loses this battle, he will indeed lose the tournament. I mean, granted, I say lose the tournament. The way it works is that the top finishers from each tournament earn points, and if you finished well in each qualifier, you'll earn more points, and then the top players get selected to move on into the league. So, you know, VikingCat still has done very well for himself here, and even if he ends up losing this series, he's still garnered a lot of points in being selected for the league, so I'm sure he'll have plenty of chances to get back at Tlax here if he ends up losing out. But let's see. It would be very tough for VikingCat to come back. He'd have to win, 3 games in a row, but it's definitely possible. I've seen crazier things happen. So let's jump to the army compositions. We've got a General of the Empire up on the Griffin here for Tlaxtlan Soothsayer. Yeah, nice cheap option. He's carrying the Charm Shield for that additional 22% damage resistance with 24 missile parry. For infantry, he's got infantry spread out all over the place, a solo swordsman here, and then lots of spearmen. No shields on these guys, just basic bog standard spearmen, nice and cheap with some chevrons to give him a little bit more melee defense, almost up to 40 melee defense, which is very decent. You can also see he's got plenty of heavy cavalry. You've got a detachment of Reichsguard here, 2 units, and also a detachment here with another 2 units, and a single Knights of the Blazing Sun up on the hill. We've also got a unit of Outriders with grenade launchers, which I am very interested to see Tlaxtlan Soothsayer use. These guys are kind of a meme unit, in all honesty, but they could potentially be useful. They do a lot of missile damage, especially against low armor targets, so I'm curious to see how they do here. Another odd pick that you don't see too often is this Witch Hunter guy here. I personally haven't used him too much, but he does now fire in 360 degrees, has a really nice armor-piercing missile damage. 60 ammunition is quite a bit as well with Accusation. My main issue with him is he's not very mobile, but let's see how Tlaxtlan Soothsayer is able to use him here. And that's pretty much it for the Empire. They do have a healer here, this Jade Wizard, just equipped with basic healing spells, Regrowth, and Earthblood, as well as a Power Stone for that additional Winds of Magic. And that's pretty much it for the Empire. Before we move on to the Beastman's build, I just wanted to quickly draw your attention to Tlaxtlan Soothsayer's map control here. I previously made a video, it was, maybe a few months ago, about map control, specifically with the Skaven. The Tlaxtlan Soothsayer is employing a very good tactic here, and in pretty much all the games I've watched him, he has a very good sense of map control. Look at how wide his formation is. If you take his whole army into account, he can take up almost half the map. If you look over on the mini-map here, he's occupying a huge amount of space for his army. So what this is going to allow him to do is, number one, to pick and choose his engagements. You can see he's going to be kind of feinting in here, which is going to then force VikingCat to either react and form up this way, which is then going to allow these guys to collapse on the flank, or VikingCat will react and overcharge here, which then allows this side to collapse. It's a really, really nice play, kind of having this functional group here, with the main army split out over here, but just the amount of map area that Tlaxtlan Soothsayer is able to cover here is truly spectacular, and I'll be drawing attention to that throughout the battle here. Let's go to VikingCat's build though. Let's see, he's got 4 Bestigor as the core, 3 Ungor Spearman Herd up front as the meat shields. We've got a couple of Ungor Raiders. Morgr the Shadowgave is the Lord. 3 groups of Centaurs with great weapons accompanied by Hounds, one here, and one here, and a Deathcaster with Spirit Leech and Fate of Buna, so no surprises there. And this is honestly how VikingCat is deployed here, is typically how I would probably deploy. But against someone like Tlaxtlan Soothsayer here, you can see how just his asymmetric formation, he's doing exactly what he should. He's folding back on this side and pushing forward on this side, and this is going to allow him to get a very favorable engagement. Now he's forcing VikingCat to kind of square up this way, which is going to allow him to pick and choose the engagements he wants, and some very nice early damage coming in from those grenade launchers, doing quite a bit of damage to these Ungor Spearman Herd, as well as this 1 unit of Hounds here. I really like that pick, even though it is a little bit of a meme unit. It actually has been pretty effective so far. They've killed quite a few of those Ungor Spearmen there. We are going to get a quick charge over here. Unfortunately, it was pathed into these swordsmen here rather than the Reiksguard, so these Centaurs aren't going to end up doing that much damage to the Reiksguard. They actually get countercharged there, so a very unfortunate situation for VikingCat. He is going to then commit these Chaos Poison Warhounds and just start pushing forward with these spears and the Bestigor and everything. And this is what I was talking about in terms of map control. This engagement is exactly what Tlaxtlan Soothsayer wants. He's going to be able to pretty much pick off one of these Centaurs with Great Woods without taking too much damage on many high-value targets. This unit of swordsmen definitely took a lot of damage, but I mean, they're just swordsmen, right? Who really cares at the end of the day? But he is going to be able to just collapse. Soothsayer, rather, will be able to just collapse with these Reiksguard and quickly take out this Centaur with great weapons, but before too much support can get there, then he can just kind of pull away through his own men here and leave the swordsmen to fight a lot of these other units here. That being said, you can see it's kind of discombobulated a lot of VikingCat's formation here. He's kind of pushing up a little bit haphazardly over on this side. He is going to be catching these Flagellants potentially here, and, you know, Bestigor Herd will obviously mop up Flagellants, but they're going to take some time, and the way they kind of got their engagement is a little bit wonky here. But you can see a quick charge by the Knights of the Blazing Sun and then immediately pulling away, allowing these Bestigor Herd to get caught up on the Spearmen. The Spearmen with their extra chevrons, giving them extra melee defense, will definitely help them hold out a lot longer against the Bestigor Herd. You can see they're not taking too much damage there, all things considered. This Witch Hunter here is just kiting around on this flank. He's been able to do some pretty decent damage so far to those Bestigor Herd. 31 kills, I'd imagine mostly on high armor targets. Knights of the Blazing, or excuse me, this Reiksguard just kind of chilling in reserve over on the side. Not really needing to engage too much here. The Beastmen are starting to break through a little bit. You can see, well, you know, I say that. This unit of swordsmen is actually still here despite everything. This engagement is very, very pitched, though. We've got two Bestigor here with another new Centaur with Great Weapon and the Bray Shaman. The General of the Empire did try and dive down in here and took a ton of damage. He's down to about half health. Does look like he's going to be on the receiving end of a regrowth there. Yep, Spirit Leech, and did the regrowth go off? I'm not really sure if it did. Where did that regrowth go? I'm thoroughly confused. Anyway, I'm not really sure what happened there with that regrowth. I'm really perplexed, but regardless, where this Reiksguard doing a very good job just cleaning up these units out on the far side here, not allowing them to rally and come back into the fight. Infantry is going to be losing here, but they've held out for a long time and allowed these heavy cavalry to get in here in the various engagements and get the work done that they need to. You can see the grenade launchers actually launching some grenades into these Bestigor here. The best target for them would probably be this big lobbed up unit of Ungor Spearman Herd here, but you know, they're definitely still doing some okay damage. Knights of the Blazing Sun pulling back away, preparing for another cycle charge here, and at this point the heavy cavalry of the Empire is definitely going to be a force to reckon with. There are still some Ungor Spearmen and Centaurs around, which is definitely a risk. You can see these Reiksguard, this particular unit is kind of getting dragged down here by the hounds and everything. Chaos Spawn being summoned up now here as well. Unfortunately, this unit of Reiksguard has compromised these Ungor Raiders here. Over on this side, Knights of the Blazing Sun charging in, doing some really nice damage on these Bestigors, and yeah, they're not long for this world. Soothsayer is probably staying a little long here, but it looks like he is going to pull away. Knights of the Blazing Sun don't have the best melee defense at the end of the day, so you definitely need to use them as a pure shock cavalry. These Outriders are finally getting focused by the Ungor Raiders, which is probably the best target for the Ungor Raiders here, but they're going to wisely pull away and just reposition here, stay out of the relatively short range of the Ungor Raiders. The Bestigor Herd are mopping up what's left of the Spearmen. A lot of the Empire infantry has suffered quite a bit, but the heavy cavalry, there's still quite a bit around. This one unit of Reiksguard is completely healthy, just kind of chilling here still, not being used, and at this point, you know, it's looking pretty gruff, honestly, for the Empire in terms of the balance of power. Keep in mind that is a little bit fraudulent because of these Chaos Spawn here, but this General of the Empire is still alive somehow. It's taken a ton of damage, but still holding strong, no doubt with the help of that Jade Wizard there, who's currently being shot up by the Ungor Raiders. Very nice targeting there by VikingCat. It does look like these grenade launchers are going to come up and start launching into the Bestigor Herd. Or no, looks like actually the Ungor Raiders, which is a perfect target for them. The low armor of the Ungor Raiders means they're going to get savaged by those grenade launchers. You can see them firing in on the flank of the unit there and doing a lot of damage. They're going to have to be a little bit careful. If the Ungor Raiders turn to fire, they'll do a lot of damage in return, so it's a bit of a give and take. You can see VikingCat's kind of establishing a little bit of a line here, kind of fortifying his presence and regrouping a little bit. The balance of power is coming back to even. The Empire are kind of bringing things back a little bit here, just staying very calm despite how bad things may have looked initially. Just staying in the air with the General of the Empire taking only the engagements where he's safe. It's going to be a little bit risky, though. You can see he's dropping down onto the Deathcaster, gets hit by the Spirit Leech, and then immediately pulls away as he sees this big goon squad of hounds and a Centaur's coming. A very nice dodge, but now coming back in again, and this is a huge risk here with all these Centaurs with great weapons and the hounds around. It's going to be a big problem, but maybe if he can proc the Terror there, he does terrify away the Bray Shaman Lore of Death, which is really nice. A few more Spirit Leeches would have probably been fatal to this General of the Empire here, so that's really nice. Ungor Raiders trying to come in for support, but just a little bit late here. Unfortunately, he's having to leave these Reiksguard in here to die, but you know, they'll definitely die well for their Emperor here with their high armor. There's not too many armor-piercing troops. A couple of Bestigors and Centaurs with great weapons mixed in here, but the Reiksguard will still hold valiantly for a moment. Does look like they're about to rout there. But still plenty of Reiksguard on the field. You can see them pummeling through these Bestigor here, just lancing down the foul beasts. And grenade launchers also still online with some ammo. They've lost a few unit models, but still firing away into the flanks of these Bestigor. Although they don't have the best AP values, they'll still do some damage there. You can see VikingCat's pushing forward, trying to catch what's left of the Empire. It's mostly shock cavalry at this point, which is pretty dangerous. There's a few regrouped units of infantry to potentially fix some things in place, but VikingCat just staying nice and tight here. Of course, I say that. As soon as I say that, he starts to run away with these Bestigor herd. They definitely need to stay close to the poison hounds and the spears and everything. If he just keeps all of this together, then, you know, the repeated cycle charges will still do damage, but if he keeps together and countercharges with the Poison Warhounds to allow the Reiksguard not to pull away as easily, could potentially do some really good work. This Witch Hunter, though, is still untouched, has been able to use all his ammunition here. 132 kills, holy cow. So he's just been running around just popping these Bestigor, and man, pops another one there. Does some really nice armor-piercing damage, and he's just been popping Bestigors all game, I would imagine. Pops another one there, and man, what a G. That actually got like 3 or 4 on that shot with that side angle. Man, what a nice character. 156 kills, holy cow. Guys, I have severely underestimated this Witch Hunter. I'm gonna have to start bringing these guys against armored infantry factions. Man, that shot just took out like 4 or 5 unit models. Holy cow. That Witch Hunter is an absolute savage, guys. 166 kills and still climbing. Grenade launchers still coming in as well, and the charge of the Reiksguard just hammering these unchivalrous brutes here. The General of the Empire is still in here. He's almost at his healing cap. Looks like he's going to be on the receiving end of another regrowth here, just to keep him fighting perfectly healthy here. And the Reiksguard are overrunning what's left of the Beastmen. Morger is all alone now. You can see the balance of power starting to tip in Tlaxtlan Soothsayer's favor. The General of the Empire still being alive is definitely clutch here. It could have definitely lost this battle. If he had lost that General of the Empire earlier on, the leadership of the Empire I don't think would have held up here. But a very close game, very well played to both players. You can see the Beastmen just about in full rout here as the forces of the Empire push them back for the Emperor and all that jazz. It's nice to see the Empire in a tournament, especially in a tournament final up against arguably one of the top tier factions in the game, in the Beastmen, doing very well. I really like how Tlaxtlan Soothsayer played this. One of the best Empire games I've seen in Mortal Empire's patch, so very well played to him. Well played to VikingCat as well. I appreciate both you guys for a very entertaining series. We're going to be, you know, keeping it coming with more of this Fantasy League qualifiers. Qualifier number 2, I'm only going to get to cast a few games from just because Tomb Kings is dropping, of course, on Tuesday. So let's go ahead and take a look at the breakdown, and we'll wrap things up here. So, 180 kills. Holy cow. That Witch Hunter, man. 180 kills by the end, and I'd imagine most of that is probably Bestigor. I honestly think that this guy may have been responsible for killing most of the Bestigor here. I mean, obviously, besides the Reiksguard. But speaking of Reiksguard, 98, 163 kills. This is why Reiksguard are still one of my favorite heavy shock cavalry in the game. They do need a little bit of help. In the patch notes, they're getting a little bit more AP damage, which is going to be great. But they're just super cost effective. Can be really good against infantry. 108 kills on those grenade Outriders too, which is really nice, and XP Chevron as well, nothing to argue with there. So a really interesting build from Tlaxtlan Soothsayer, very unorthodox, but I absolutely love it. Just performed very well for him. For VikingCat, you can see the Bestigor herd just mopped the floor with the Empire State troops. Not surprisingly, they just completely won that frontline engagement, and that's why you bring Bestigor in this engagement, because great swords will just get wilted by them. The Empire really doesn't have any infantry that can stand up to Bestigor herd, so I really like that pick here. He did very well with them. Also, one of the Centaurs with great weapons managed to get an XP Chevron, but the other two kind of underperformed, and the Hounds Didn't end up getting that many kills. If they would have been able to get into the back line, kind of chase down some of these routing state troop spearmen, for example, it would have been pretty beneficial. But, you know, it's tough. Fighting against someone on Tlaxtlan Soothsayer's level, I've fought against him a couple times. It's really hard. So the fact that VikingCat was able to do as well as he did is a credit to how good of a player he is as well. So, hope you guys enjoyed watching this series. I know I sure did. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'm keeping it coming with more Total War Warhammer 2 content every single day, so stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.